Once a year, financial planners from across the country stop everything and invest in themselves. That moment is FPA Summit, taking place November 9th through the 11th at the Gaylord National Resort in National Harbor, Maryland. It's where you'll experience incredible speakers, real strategies, and real connections. Find out more and register at fpasummit.org. Registration closes October 23rd. We hope to see you there. Hey everyone, welcome back to FPA Live, where we have conversations with interesting people doing interesting things in and out of financial planning. I'm Ben Lewis from the Financial Planning Association, and I have to be upfront about something before we get started. This episode is about FPA MediaSource, a program I helped build, and I'm genuinely proud of it. So yes, I have a bias, but I also have a guest whose results speak louder than anything I could say, so I'm going to let him do most of the talking. But here's a quick version of what FPA MediaSource is. Every day, journalists at some of the biggest media outlets in the world are working on stories about personal finance, investing, retirement, taxes, and everything in between. They need expert sources, and they need them fast, and they need them to be credible. FPA MediaSource connects those journalists directly with CFP professionals who can give them exactly that: qualified, trustworthy insight from financial planners who know their stuff. Now, since we launched the program 9 years ago, we've sent more than 10,500 journalist queries to FPA members, and those members have responded more than 68,000 times. And the outlets reading those responses include some of the most influential financial publications you're going to find. And then there's today's guest. Jeff Judge is a financial planner at Chesapeake Financial Planners and an FPA member who has taken everything FPA MediaSource has to offer and run with it hard. In just the last 3 months, Jeff has been quoted in 97 articles across 23 media outlets, including MarketWatch, CNBC, Barron's, Bloomberg, Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, Reuters, among many others. Now, I lead the team responsible for FPA MediaSource, and even I had to do a double take at those numbers. Today, we're going to talk about how Jeff does it, how he approaches the queries, how he's turning media exposure into real business results, and what he's learned along the way that every FPA member needs to hear. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let me bring in Jeff. Jeff Judge, how are you?
Hey, how are you doing, Ben?
Good. It's good to have you on here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled. I mean, you and I have been in touch a little bit here over the last couple months
Yeah, we've
about
gone back and forth a little bit.
just a little bit. It's funny
Just a
because every
little.
time I go onto LinkedIn, I see you posting yet another quote, something that you've appeared in. And so I want to get into kind of like the nuts and bolts of how you're approaching MediaSource, because I'm over the moon, delighted that a member
You
is
and me
really
both.
you're
You and me
taking
both.
advantage of it. So, before we get into the numbers, which again are pretty jaw dropping, tell us a little bit about your practice and the kind of clients you serve.
So, we primarily work with business owners. Well, it's myself and a partner, and then we have, staff, other advisors that work with us through us. So we each work with kind of a different demographic. We each work in different parts of the business. It kind of works out like, we complement each other really well. My
Mhm.
focus tends to be on business owners and people in tech, whether it's, your account executives, your founders, your CTOs, CIOs, all the way down to, just your engineer, out of college. It's kind of who I resonate with. It's
Mhm.
probably something I'd be doing if I wasn't, you know, sitting behind a desk. I'd probably be sitting behind a desk there too. But if I wasn't sitting behind this desk, 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day, I'd probably be coding or building or whatever it might be.
So you're a techie at heart, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. Oh, I am. I tend to be an early adopter. Um, I try to balance that with my own career and say you don't need it right when it comes out.
Yep.
Um, because that's what I would tell other people. Um, but it's kind of one of those, if you have the desire and it's not going to put you in a bad spot, go for it if it's something you enjoy.
That's awesome. All right.
Mhm.
So I want to dig into the topic du jour,
Yeah,
MediaSource. So when did you first hear about MediaSource? Because you haven't been participating that long.
I
And I guess,
haven't.
yeah. And what made you decide, like, this is something I have to actually try?
Right. So we were in the process of revamping our media anyway, redoing our website,
Hmm.
updating our social media, redoing profiles, everything. And one of the things it said is you are nowhere out there on the web. Um, you need to look at joining something like FPA. So I joined FPA earlier this year, and we were doing some other outreach, some paid PR, and
Hmm.
you know um, kind of just emailing any journalist I could find an email address for, um, or publication or whatever it was. And that, I mean, that's turned out fantastically too. I have a twice monthly column in Kiplinger. Uh,
Great.
every 2 months, I'm in Baltimore Business Journal. I do something monthly for Think Advisor, and then Advisorpedia, and then some others as well. So even outside of this, I keep busy writing because it's kind of my outlet.
Escape.
Yeah, I mean, when you deal with numbers all day, sometimes you just want to deal with words all night. Um, but we were doing that, and we tried other sources. We tried Quoted, we tried Connectively, I think it is now. Where it's kind of the same thing, kind of your old school help a reporter out
Yeah.
uh, source, and they were good, but it was just so hit or miss. So I joined FPA earlier this year. Um, I think I took the training for FPA MediaSource at the beginning of April. I
Yep.
mean, that would be an interesting date to see. And then just took off running with it once I got approved, and now I'm up to 118 quoted and 8 in the hopper waiting to be published that are bigger pieces, your
Sure.
AARP guide to retirement or whatever it might be.
That's
um
great.
so
So you've had some success, is what you're saying. And
a
I mean,
little bit.
I guess what I'm interested, because because you're a newer member of FPA, you joined fairly recently. I mean,
Hmm.
when you joined, were you skeptical at all about what Media Source was? I mean, I guess what were your expectations going into it?
Honestly, I figured I'd get like 2 or 3 emails a day. I figured they'd be highly contested, and I was like, look, if it's not costing me anything extra, and it's included in my FPA membership, and that you guys already provide a ton of value to advisors, not to mention go out and advocate for us.
Hmm.
I was like, look, if I get something out of it, it's worth the time. And then I will say bombarded is probably a nice word for it now. So we got a ton of emails, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 a day, depending on the day of the week. And it's everything from MarketWatch to financial planning magazine, or financialplanning.com. I'm not sure what they are. Financial Advisor magazine, the Wall Street Journal. So anywhere where I had the ability to add value or to bring a real client conversation or a client scenario into it, I responded.
That's great. Okay, so let's talk about, I mean, I obviously know how it works. Folks on here really don't. So when a query comes in, I mean, you mentioned, I mean, there are some days when I feel bad, because some days there might be 10 or 12 different queries that will go out. Some
Hmm.
days it might be 2 or 3, right? And just so everyone knows, the way the system is set up is that all journalists work on different deadlines. one journalist is working on a deadline that might be 2 hours from now. Others might be working on a deadline that's a week from now. Because of that, the system has to be set up so that way they just send the queries out as they come in. Otherwise, you can't just pool them all together and just do one end of day digest. It would just never work. So when a query comes in for you, Jeff, what does that look like, and how do you decide whether or not it's something you want to respond to?
So when it comes in, it normally goes to a member of our team, an admin. They look at it. If it's something we can comment on, they know our business well enough to know, what we work with, what we don't work with, what our investment portfolios look like, what they don't look like, or what we're not able to talk about. So, when they come in, they kind of scrub it. They'll go ahead and pull together any research that I might need to read to prep to write. Whether it's a website or two or whatever. That comes back to me in my email. And then, I'll normally just put something together real quick, send it over. Everything is now templatized. It was not at first. At first everything was written completely by hand. Now the first part, everything's kind of the same except for the body.
Sure. So,
and that's cut down on a lot of time.
Right. But obviously, look, you're not responding to everything that comes in. I mean, again,
No.
I was joking with Jeff before we came on about how I can see all the back end data, and I see Jeff as like the king of the super users of MediaSource after the last few months. Even though you're still not responding to everything. So I guess So how do you and your team kind of take a look at it and basically say, look, this is one that actually makes sense for us to respond to, and here's one that just, you know what, we're not going to have a comment on that. You just delete it and go about your day.
I mean, honestly, Ben, if it's one of those things where if we can add value, we do it.
Sure.
Because it takes so little time. Having everything templatized, every single response I submit starts out with who I am, what my credentials are, and then how I can add value, and it's just basically like fill in the blank is the way I have it set up. It's followed by a key takeaway section that are kind of your bullet points, your sound bites, the things that a journalist might, if they're on a quick deadline, take one of those, stick it in an article, good to go.
Yeah.
A couple sentences of, explaining out those key points. And then I always just end with, if you need a phone call to walk through this, let me know. But really all I'm writing is the key takeaways and the body. The rest of it is already written and it's copy paste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fill in the blanks, copy paste.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you're doing is exactly, so people to know, whenever a new member joins FPA MediaSource, usually I don't know if I actually sent you, I don't know if you actually got the 11 best practices guide that I'm not sure you actually got, because what's cool is that you're actually doing some of those, because people often think, well, I got to sit down, I got to think about this, and then I have to write a manifesto back to the reporter with the details. And I'm just like, journalists just like you and I, if what you're going to say isn't going to resonate with them within the first 15 seconds of actually reading what they're getting, they're going to go to the next response that comes in, right? So short, bite-sized content, short and bite-size. The big thing is leading with what your opinion is. Don't put all the extra fluff in there. I'm an expert in this or that. Give them your opinion and let them know that they can reach out for more information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they do, and some of them don't. Some of them just take it, publish it, and then I find out about it when a Google alert or a Talkwalker hits or whatever it might be. Some of them, they want a phone call, and I'm like, great. Let me know when you have 15 or 20 minutes, and we talk. And then, those are the ones that have kind of developed. to the point where they email me now directly and say, hey, I'm working on a story. I have, this piece I'm thinking about. When do you have some time to talk about it?
Right.
I got an email yesterday from somebody from the Wall Street Journal asking if I had time on Friday. I got an email 2 days ago from somebody at Barron's asking if I had time tomorrow. So being consistent with it's definitely helped solidify some of those relationships that, as long as I'm consistent, not flaky, and should be there for a while, I would think.
So, I mean, and I mentioned at the very top of this, I mean, you've appeared in, I mean, everything like Barron's, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, CNBC. I mean,
Yeah.
do you ever sit back and you're like a little bit surprised to actually see your name in some of those outlets?
Oh yeah, I still get excited seeing my name in the Wall Street Journal, or um, you know, I love seeing it in Morningstar. Morningstar doesn't do it directly. They'll normally syndicate off of like MarketWatch.
Yep.
But seeing your name in some of those places, and then, getting the Google alerts, it's definitely interesting, definitely fun. Um, Definitely humbling when you think the journalists are there writing the whole piece, and like you're
Yep.
just this tiny, um, snippet of it. But we're happy to contribute where we can, and it's definitely paid off. And it's definitely ramping up too. So it's one of those things, like anything else, that if you stick with it, it will definitely yield dividends.
That's great. And I mean, so I'm interested because, to me, again, one of the values of being in the media is that it meets the needs of the way that people are actually searching for expertise and guidance and assistance, right? I mean, it's not just SEO. I mean, having, even if it's a small snippet in that article, here's Jeff
Mhm.
Judge, Chesapeake Financial Planners, that still aids in your SEO. But in
Oh,
the way that,
huge.
but the way that people are like searching today, it's now
Hmm.
AI. I mean, and
Yeah.
so people are utilizing the various models out there to actually do their research and searches. So I guess,
Hmm.
how are you actually seeing all the newfound media attention playing a role in real business for you? Are you seeing an uptick in the number of people who are reaching out to you? Like, how's it actually benefiting you and your practice?
So we do a couple things. One, we always track our SEO, AEO, and GEO, so we know exactly what's working and what's not when it comes to the media. We have a report that goes out once a week. We'll track where we're quoted, where our competitors are quoted, and then assign a metric to it.
Hmm.
As far as business, we've seen, yeah, definitely an uptick in the number of requests for appointments. Maybe not all of them are ideal clients, or something like that, so we don't actually meet. But we refer them to people who might be a better fit for them. But we've seen. I'm just trying to think. We've seen a lot. Definite increase in the number of appointments. People have specifically mentioned, hey, I read this article that you were quoted in, or I read this piece that you wrote, um, or whatever it might be. And yeah, I mean, so it's helping with prospecting. Definitely making organic prospecting a lot easier. Um, People are just kind of coming to us, which is always nice. And then, on top of that, you throw in, people are kind of coming in a little bit hotter than normal. They know us. They know, it's almost akin to, a referral or somebody that because you come in with some credibility. You come
Yep.
in as an expert, the same way that you do when your neighbor refers you to somebody. So, that's been nice. And then, definitely had some closed business off of it, new clients, um, so kind of a win-win all around.
That's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, appearing in the media, one of the things I always talk about, it's third-party validation, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
these journalists aren't going to, quote just anybody, right?
Mhm.
Somebody is knowledgeable and experienced, and you provide something insightful, something that's truly educational and helpful to their end user, reader, listener. It's going to likely get picked up, and that says something about you and your credibility. I
Yep.
mean, and I mentioned, I mean, because I mean, I see you on LinkedIn. You're constantly posting the different appearances that you're in. How else are you leveraging the media attention that you've gotten with prospects and with clients? I mean, are you packaging it up? Are you putting it in the newsletters? I mean, I go to your website. I go to your website periodically, and I see all these different news logos on there, which is really cool. But how else are
Yep.
you how else are you leveraging it to make people aware?
Yeah, I mean, so we have it on our website as a scrolling banner. We have a in the media page on our website. So people can go and link to it and read it, so if for some reason they don't believe us, you know, they can go and see the quotes right there, proofs in the pudding, I guess you would say. Um, you know, we probably could leverage it a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, that's part of it. We always post on LinkedIn, really all of our social channels with a link to the article. The thing we want to be able to do is provide value back to the journalist.
Mhm.
Um, Driving people to their article, making people aware of it, getting people to read it. That helps them, which in turn helps us. So it can't necessarily, so we probably do a little bit better job of marketing it. But it's on some materials we use with clients. It's you know in our newsletters. So it's kind of everywhere, but we could probably leverage it a little bit better if I had to think about it.
So, and again, I know you're a fairly recent member of FPA, going back
Yeah.
to April of this year. How do you view FPA Media Source in the bigger picture of the value that you get from the organization? Is it the centerpiece, or is it just one of multiple things that you're actually taking advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, so it's one of multiple things, whether it's reading some of the articles that are out there, looking at the Journal for Financial Planning, which what is today, the 29th. I have a piece coming out there in 2 days, kind of going into this in a little bit more detail, breaking down the process that we use with everybody. And then starting in, I think it's October, we have a piece coming out a couple times a year on taxes and
Mhm.
tax planning. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's a great place to kind of be able to catch up on what's going on in the industry, what's working, what's not working, you know, keep sharpening that saw so
Mhm.
that when we're sitting in front of clients, when we're doing their plan, we're constantly improving, we're constantly adding value.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, look, there's as of today, we're a little under 1,300 members who are actively participating in Media Source today, which
Hmm.
is
Crazy.
which is crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because I think it's really low, right? So let's just say you were talking to a member who's
Yep.
kind of on the fence about whether or not to participate in FPA Media Source. Maybe they think they're not quotable enough, or they don't have something insightful to say. What would you tell them about just getting started? Forget, and not just
Well,
Media Source, but just in terms of working with the media too.
I was going to say one part of me wants to say don't do it because then that's more for me. But the other part of me, which is the part that would actually speak, would say, you know, everybody has experiences. Everybody's had a situation come up with a client or multiple clients where they can give some insight, whether it's I had one yesterday on gray divorces. People getting divorced in their 60s. Everybody's had a client that's gotten divorced in their 60s. If you've been doing this long enough,
Yep.
If you're newer to the business, there are people that are specifically talking about Gen Z. We get a ton of requests from Reuters for Gen Z issues, whether it's moving or paying for paying for a pet while you're still trying to save for a house. And so there's always something to add. You just kind of have to figure out how to bring your story to that, I guess I would say. So don't ever think that you don't have enough experience or um, don't have anything to say on it. Try to figure out a way to relate it back to either a client or a story or something that you personally have experienced. um, just put yourself out there. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get an email back.
Right.
you know
Yeah. So one of the things I want to go back to something you said. I mean, I'm cognizant of the time and making sure I don't take too much of your time.
yeah
But you mentioned before, I mean, because you've got a system and a process in place for addressing these queries as they come in. I mean, you have back office support and so on who are helping you kind of vet these things and help you kind of pull content together.
yeah
That's not something that every planner is going to have at their disposal.
hmm
Um, you know, how do you think that sole practitioner or that really small firm, where maybe somebody just wants to get in there and test it out, what advice would you give them if they don't have all the extra support behind them to actually vet these things and pull thoughts together?
I mean, I would say systematize it, templatize it, figure out what you actually have to write versus what can be the same or roughly the same on every post or every reply. When it comes in, and I don't know, I'll probably get crucified for saying this. Use Claude, use whatever, research the topic. You don't have to have somebody else going out to research the topic. Plug it into Google, plug it into Claude, wherever you are comfortable, and then read up a little bit on it and just write. It doesn't have to be complicated. um we really made it almost like a conveyor belt. So everything moves quickly and it allows us to do a lot in a small amount of time. I mean, this is a couple hours a week. I do a lot of my writing at night. I've had plenty of requests where you say people are on a deadline,
Mhm.
where it comes in at 12 o'clock and I'm like, all right, I'll respond to that after my next meeting. I get out of the meeting at 2 o'clock and the deadline was 2 o'clock. Um, so always be aware of that too, so you're not wasting time. But yeah, try to make it as systematized of a process as possible, because everybody out there in our industry knows the more you can systematize things, the more efficient you are, the less time it takes. um, and at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, is just be able to do this, be able to do the other things you want to do, and not have to have it be a time suck.
Yeah. So do me a favor. Last thing, and then I want you to talk a little
Yeah.
more about people can reach out to you. If you could sum up the opportunity with a program like FPA MediaSource, like how would you sum it up? The value of it?
Oh, um, yeah. I think it's the ability to be an expert to become more publicly findable. Um, but just like I said, just do it. I mean, in this day and age, SEO was really important for a long time. Now everything is AEO and your LLMs trying to push people. and we always measure that too. I think Perplexity quotes, cites us locally in our area like 70% of the time. So just do it. It will absolutely increase your lead flow. It'll increase your prospect flow. You'll feel good doing it if it's something that you enjoy. I've always enjoyed writing. It's always been an outlet for me. So, it's kind of natural. It's a, natural fit. But if not, make videos, do something, find another way to do it. They should have a FPA MediaSource for TV or something, so you can get quoted on morning shows. And I'm sure there are people that would rather do that. Me, I have a face for radio and type media, so that one works for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, and look, I'll just reiterate. I mean, people should not overthink it, right?
No,
Again,
not at all.
Take 5 minutes. You see a query come in, it's in your wheelhouse, it's something you've got a strong opinion on, it's something you're actually working on with your clients. Take 5 minutes, throw a few sentences together, state your opinion up front, and hit send. It's that quick.
Yeah, a couple bullet points. That's all they need.
Right. And you highlighted this before with the whole deadline piece, right? Don't wait till the reporter's deadline to hit send.
No.
Get your response in early, because the chances of you actually being in that piece are going to go up exponentially. So
yeah, I mean, as soon as it comes in, we try to get something out there, because I know at some point journalists just stop reading. They might get three responses. They might get 30 responses. If I got 30, I'd probably read the first 3, pick out what I need, and then let the other 27 go to spam.
Well, to that point, I mean, I know, because again, I can see all the back end data. I know, look, based on the topic and the outlet is going to largely have a determining factor on how many responses are coming in. If it's CNBC or Kiplinger or like a major big name outlet, and it's a topic that a lot of planners can respond to, there might be 20 different responses that are going in.
Yeah.
Some that are a little bit maybe lesser known outlets or more specialized type of topics, there might be 3 or 4. So the bottom line is, if you are responding to these things and something's right in your wheelhouse and you have a quick opinion you can share, don't wait. Get your response in, because again, it's going to elevate the opportunity that you're going to have to actually get in that piece. So
yeah, I try to get a response in within about an hour to an hour and a half. Depending on when I actually see it.
Sure.
When it's put in front of me. But maybe 2 hours, 3 hours tops. If it's a longer deadline, maybe it's something I write at night sitting on my couch. Some of the specialized ones, if you're if you can offer some value, and if it's something where you're kind of anxious about submitting something to Wall Street Journal, go for those. Because if you're competing against 3 people and you have value to add, your success ratio goes up exponentially.
That's great. All right, Jeff, look, I know that we're at time. I want to give you a moment here. Tell everybody a little bit more about how they can get in touch with you if they've got questions. They just want to learn more about Chesapeake Financial Planners and the work that you're doing. How can people get in touch with you?
So first thing is go to our website. It's Chesapeake FP, ChesapeakeFinancialPlanners.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. It's Jeff@ChesapeakeFP.com. And I can certainly, will try to respond to whoever has questions, because like I said, I think the program's fantastic. I paid for Quoted, I paid for Connectively, and FPA MediaSource has blown them out of the water while being included in my FPA membership. So it's not even like I'm paying for anything extra. So, if that's part of your strategy, that's part of what you want to do, Don't think about it. Just do it. Worst case scenario, you fail in silence. Nobody's going to tell you no. Nobody's going to tell you your pitch sucked. You're just not going to hear from them, and it's not going to get published. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, Jeff. And look, it's always nice to have a fellow Marylander on.
Oh yeah,
on here.
Yeah, you're not far at all. You're not far at all.
I'm just down in Montgomery County. I know you're north of Baltimore, right?
I'm in Hartford. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in Hartford County. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I've been down your neck of the woods plenty of times. We used to have an office in Rockville, and we used to have an office in Hanover. So we're in between those.
Yeah.
All the time, and now just like you, I don't know if it looks like anyway if that's your office in
my home
in there, but I'm at home. I mean, yeah. after COVID, you're not getting me to go anywhere.
Yeah. So I'm the same way. Same way. Anyway, Jeff, hey, listen, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your experience with MediaSource. And we'll look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn, sharing all the great attention that you're getting.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Ben. It was great. And I'm sure we'll be in touch, and I'll keep sharing some results, and hopefully it gets people in the door, and gets that 1,500 up to 15,000. Whatever.
That's my goal.
Yeah,
that's my goal. Excellent. Hey, Jeff, thanks again. I appreciate it, buddy. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye. All right, everybody. Again, that was Jeff Judge from Chesapeake Financial Planners here in Maryland. One of our FPA members who's participating in FPA MediaSource and has seen some amazing results. I mean, I think he said 118 different appearances in the last 3 months. Amazing results for a member who's participating in it. Again, if you want to learn more about FPA MediaSource, just go to fpamediasource.org. That's fpamediasource.org, or you can go to the main FPA website, financialplanningassociation.org, click on advocacy, and then go down to MediaSource. Really simple. And by all means, if you ever have any questions about MediaSource or what it can do for you, please feel free to reach out to me. I will be more than happy to tell you all about it. And I also want to remind all of you that all of our FPA Live conversations are available at fpahub.org. That's fpahub.org. This conversation with Jeff will be on there within the next 24 hours. And next week, we are taking the week off. We've got some travel coming up, but we will be back the week after with our next episode. Anyway, I hope you all have a terrific rest of your day, and thank you for joining us on